We are honored to have with us a distinguished member of the Senate, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Local Government, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Senator Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Magandang tanghali po sa inyo lahat. Today's launching of the review of the Local Government Code is a very important and rather remarkable step towards a more comprehensive and holistic approach of amending certain provisions of the Local Government Code. And for this effort, I commend the Department of Interior and Local Government to the Coordinating Committee on Decentralization and the Asian Development Bank. I would also like to thank all of you who have taken time to participate in this all-important event. Your attendance clearly demonstrates an important and continuing commitment on your part to be with us in the entire legislative process of finally bringing into fruition the necessary amendments to the code. Those who are familiar with the Local Government Code will know that there is an oversight committee on the Local Government Code, which is mandated to meet every 5 years. As far as I know, it has met only once. Very insightful of our friends in ADB to come up with this program simply because it is absolutely necessary, as we have seen from the discussions that we have heard so far. While we are all in agreement that while a genuine local autonomy as enshrined in Article 10, Section 2 of our Constitution continues to be a work in progress, the enactment of the Local Government Code more than 2 decades ago, with its core on local autonomy and its subsequent implementation, has clearly set a vision that empowered and guided our local officials to a more effective and more responsive approach in the formulation of policy and in the delivery of services. The decentralized system of governance has certainly brought public service at the doorstep of our citizenry. On the subject on the devolved functions, basically we're talking about health and agri. The issues are slightly different in each of them. In health, it is generally a question of cost because the pay grades of the national employees in the hospitals that were devolved to the province or the city are much higher than the equivalent health workers that have come from the local side. I always cite the example of Ilocos Norte because it is something I'm familiar with. Siyempre, mayabang kami sa Ilocos Norte dahil yung isang presidente galing sa amin, marami kaming ospital. Nung na-devolve, napilay naman kami dahil napakalaki ng ibinabayad para mapatakbo yung ospital. And this is something that really needs. I do not think that we in local government want to give up those healthcare facilities, but we want the capability of continuing to maintain and to run those health facilities. On the agri side, it is more of a question of policy. I am convinced in myself that part of the problem, certainly not the whole problem, but part of the problem of why our self-sustainability hindi natin maabot-abot. When agriculture was still with national government, we were able to say, the Department of Agriculture was able to say that from this province, I can expect so many tons of palay. From this province, this much. From this, the corn. From this, high-value vegetables, etc., etc. And thereby making the national government able to plan and to implement programs so that the plan will be followed. And that is something that we do not do now. That points to an inconsistency in the implementation of agricultural policy. It was declared that the governors were the agri-czar. I think in Arab's time, the agri-czar of the province, in fact, of the country. They will be the ones in charge of it. And the city mayor. Again, there's an inconsistency because chief executives are very, very interested in agriculture. Others are not. And that's why, and some are more knowledgeable, some are more capable. So that's why that inconsistency. So I think just as a matter of policy, I don't think the cost element comes into it so much as in the situation with the healthcare. But I think that in terms of policy, and I think it impacts again upon our productivity in the agricultural sector. So that's why it is clear that despite the acknowledged success of the Local Government Code, I am one with you in expressing the observation that there are provisions in the code that need to be revisited and amended. Notably, there are functions that were devolved to local government units, but the corresponding funds were not provided. In general, the noticeably inadequate funding of the local government units in effect compromise their autonomy and their ability to provide effective and efficient services to their constituency. So this brings us to the question of the mandated, for example, the mandated positions, the mandated organizations. They would want a housing board. The national government wants a housing board. They want a, we are now hearing a proposal for a building official, that kind, without the corresponding increased funding. It is not also only about funding. It is also about capability, technical capability. Halimbawa, let me take the example, pag sinusulat natin yung land use plan. That needs a level of expertise for the land use plan to be completed. And that needs the help of the NEDA, the NHA. So I would look into very much the possibility of always having a revenue source that will correspond. And also a support from the national government when we are mandating functions to the local government of giving them at least the ability, the support. Kung talagang wala silang technical capability, then maybe the national government can send experts to beef up the local, at least for the duration, the creation of the land use plan or for the planning of the housing. The other issue become prevalent is something that I ran into because I also happen in this Congress to be the chairman of the Committee on Public Works. When I was governor, it was the planning was very clearly set out. The process was very clearly set out. You had the provincial development officer or the committee, and then all the plans and proposals are sent up to the RDC. Those that are approved are sent up to the NEDA. Hindi na nasusunod yun. Maybe we can go revisit that and strengthen that. Because right now, what Public Works is only doing is implementing projects. Bigay sila ng folder kung kanino na-approve, yun lang. So pachi-pachi, there is no overarching development plan, which is something that we need. And also, with this system that we have now, where the RDC and NEDA are not so much involved in the planning, very little consultation with the local government officials. I firmly believe and have always believed that the local government officials are the most knowledgeable in terms of the issues, in terms of the problems, in terms of the challenges of their area. And furthermore, likely as not, they also have the answers and the solutions to those problems. So that only need the support of national government for them to succeed. Certainly the focus of your studies and deliberations will be on the fiscal side of local government, as it should be. And I believe that local autonomy can best be measured by its fiscal autonomy. Greater local autonomy translates into more effective delivery of basic services to the general populace. The Committee on Local Government in the Senate, which I have chaired now for 6 years, has been involved since then in the crafting and deliberation of various bills which seek to amend certain provisions in the code. If I might be allowed to just get a few examples of that, the proposal to increase the income requirement for the creation of a province. And that applies also to city. Meron din kami mga pinag-aaralan na conversion of municipality to city, itaas ang maybe we can have that's why yung era dependence becomes a possible test. We are increasing the classification for highly urbanized city, the exemption from population and land area requirements for the conversion of a municipality into a city, authorizing the punong barangay to administer the oath of office. That is what we just finished yesterday. That it turns out, to my great surprise, na pag nag-oath of office tayo sa punong barangay, wala palang batas that says that they are actually authorized. That is why when the president wanted to take his oath of office before a barangay official, nagdalawang isip kasi sinabihan siya hindi maliwanag ang batas, and we're clarifying that now. Direct remittance to the LGUs of their 40% share of the IRA. The other related issue here is the direct remittance from on their local, usually mining yan eh. But imbis na antayin 3 taon na darating babalik galing sa national government, the proposal is that the company that is mining or that is exploiting the national wealth directly remit in that same fiscal year to the LGU their share para hindi na mag-aantay ng 3 years. Of course, there's a political aspect to it because sinasabi ng Chief Executive, baka pagbalik niyan, wala na ako rito, hindi na ako nakaupo, ako naman nag-ayos niyan lahat, I was the one who put it together, I should be the one to take advantage. And that's not an unreasonable position to take. We are also examining certain proposals of increasing of the era of LGUs to 50%, meron pang 55%, merong 45%, iba-iba. Then, of course, there's that case before the Supreme Court where the tax base is being questioned. And the proposition that has been made is that we have been calculating the era mistakenly all of these years, and because we are only calculating BIR collections, when in fact we should include all national collections. And that is the proper interpretation of the local government code, to include collections with the Bureau of Customs, on VAT, all of the collections that the government makes. So my friends, we have been waiting with great anticipation, mindful of the deadline set in the framework agreement for the filing of the bill of Bangsamoro Basic Law, since this aspect is widely seen as a welcome breakthrough in our long-desired peace in that important part of our archipelago. Again, both the upper and lower houses of Congress will redefine the meaning of autonomy that is now being enjoyed by our brothers and sisters in the autonomous regions of Muslim Mindanao. Fellow local government advocates, what has been presented and discussed today will certainly provide a substantial guide to our legislative work. I'm confident that with your continuing cooperation and unwavering assistance, our common vision for a more flexible, responsive, and effective local government code with the singular objective of improving lives through local government reforms will finally be accomplished. In closing, as chairman of the Committee on Local Government in the Senate, I thank you once again for the opportunity to be a part of today's proceedings. Maraming salamat at magandang tanghali po sa inyo lahat.